And welcome back to another edition of the EDF College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnston, joined by the one and only LaMarr Fields. How you doing, brother? How's your day been? How's your week been?
Pretty good. Yours?
Yeah, can't complain. Getting some stuff done, so that's all that matters. So yeah. But at the end of the day, college football is now entering its more prudent time of year. This is where the games really matter. In fact, the college football playoff official rankings came out on Tuesday. So Lamar, realistically, where I want to start is week 8 through week 9 because that's where the season really gets underway. And I don't mean no disrespect to the previous opponents, but week 8's traditionally known as rivalry week. And there were some good rivalries that went down in that week. And I just want to touch on a few of those. For one, as painful as it does make me think about it, Penn State was absolutely horrendous against Ohio State in every single category you could think of. I really don't want to talk much about it just because of how embarrassed that I was of how the team played. There should be no reason that they get a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, but can't seem to find the end zone any other time during that game, and then only get 2 field goals out of it. Ohio State just seemed to just I wouldn't say outplay, even though that they did seem that way, but I would say outcoached and out game plan. It just seemed like, to me, what I didn't understand about that game is every game prior to it, you put Bo Prabula in, you give him time, you give Drew Aller rest, you give your first team guys rest, and you put your second and third team guys in. And I get the situations and all that, but in a game like that, and as much as James Franklin has disliked the media talking about it, I think it's a prudent thing to ask is why didn't you put Bo in there? Why didn't you mix things up? Why didn't you put packages in there that maybe Ohio State hasn't seen? Because looking at the first half and then all of a sudden the second half in the coaches' interviews, James Franklin's like, yeah, Ohio State put some stuff that we didn't see on film. So it's like, why didn't you do that in reverse? You kind of just made it easy for Ohio State to win that game.
Yeah, I was always wondering what would happen when Penn State couldn't run the ball against a good team and see if Aller can put up some numbers. I mean, it had 191 passing yards. That's not good. One touchdown late, cheap touchdown, but I mean, it was just looked like the moment was too big for him at the moment. And I mean, and I'm not a favor of playing a cupcake team right before you play a big game because it never really. I get why they did it because they want to have like a for sure win maybe before they played Ohio State. But man, if there's somebody better can at least put up a fight so you can get that build up to go in there. They cakewalk through. I can't remember the team name they played before that,
UMass.
but yeah, and then they got in a dog fight, and I mean it was close to. I just it was a slugfest like I thought it was. Both teams trying to run the ball, no success. I mean, I get one thing to Ohio State. They didn't run the ball well, but they stuck with it. They ran 41 times and only averaged 1.9 yards a carry and 79 yards. But they made Penn State think they had to continue to stop the run, and and McCord played okay. It was nothing special, but didn't turn the ball over. And but the big thing in that game was Marvin Harrison Jr. 11 catches, 162 yards, and like they were struggling covering him, but Marvin Harris is a legit receiver. But on offense, they needed to have more out there receivers. And the question marks I had about Penn State, they showed up in that Ohio State game. Receiver production and quarterback play when they can't run when Aller needed to win the game with his arm, he couldn't do it. But still games left. Still time left to see. Got another game against Michigan. A good team against Michigan. Got a game this week against Maryland, it ain't gonna be an easy game. Maryland got some offensive capabilities and stuff, but Yeah, it was his first big test, and he didn't play well. Just got to learn from it. First
I
year
mean
starting, so
that's true. That's
yeah,
true. You got to learn from it. And the thing is, I think that Penn State's biggest Achilles heel right now is, and I'm starting to realize this after I'm starting to analyze and rewatch a lot of this stuff. They focused so much last year on the run game that I think that they honestly failed to really develop that second true wide receiver in the passing game. And it's like, because James Franklin prior to last season would always look at the pass game, you would always have the receivers, but then it's like now it comes to, oh, we got 2-star running backs as a freshman. And now what teams looked at was, okay, since Penn State prioritized the run game last year, we're going to game plan to stop that so that they could prove that they could beat us on the outside. And I said, that's the biggest Achilles heel because, whenever you look at who they've brought in, it's like I tell people, it takes time to adjust to that. And it's like guys like Dante Cephas, adjusting to the new system and putting
yeah.
in work.
I was big on him for the season started, and it looked like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we
Well, I
adjusted
mean,
the
the good news
system or not.
is he's got another year after this. So, I
Yeah,
mean, if I were him, I'd probably use that. But like my whole point though is you got all these guys coming in that are getting used to the system, and that's a lot to draw in, especially a guy that gets in their summer camp and so on and so forth. It's just I just think that there was too much buildup, and it's just like I just think that Penn State really just made so many self-inflicted wounds that it just came back to cost them. And it's just like, to me, James Franklin deserves to be judged for basically how bad he is in those kinds of games because it's just like, how are you at a university for this long? How are you a head coach for this long at this program and you have that bad of a record? That's enough to judge your staff in total. It's just like, come on, your defense held up their end of the bargain. Your offense just didn't do anything, and that's just a bad look, especially what they were able to do a couple weeks prior. I want to touch a little bit on the Tennessee-Alabama game. That was probably a little closer than I thought, but Alabama came out 34-20. Um, some of these other games, Michigan State, Michigan just demolishes them 49-0. Ole Miss and Auburn 28-21. Auburn's played some pretty close games in the SEC, knowing how their teams have transitioned these past couple years. So that's always a surprise. And then you got Duke,
hmm
Florida State, that 38-20. And then here's the one that I really want to touch on, and then we can move on to last week, is Utah USC. Utah won 34-32. Lamar, I want your thoughts, especially on USC now, seeing how some of these games have panned out for them. What do you see in USC that either has built up the hype, or do you think they were way too hyped?
I want to hit on USC when we hit the next week when we hit on week 9 game.
Okay.
Okay, we can push that back to that one. USC then because I got a lot of stuff to say about that.
Well, that's all for week 8, because now I want to hit the week 9 because there are a few games that really caught my attention. I'm not going to talk about Penn State in this week because to me, I mean, them in Indiana, the past couple times it has been a slugfest. And it just seems like I don't know if these guys were still dwelling on the OSU loss or what, but they need to come out playing ball against Maryland for that matter. Oklahoma, Kansas was pretty close, in fact. Kansas won 38-33. I don't know how good or bad that looks on Oklahoma, but that's honestly not too good of a look whenever you go in and you're able to beat Texas the week or two prior to that, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah, it's like kind of like that Texas win is kind of like somewhat negated now with that loss. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah, yeah, and then you got Wake Forest and Florida State, even though they crushed them. And then, now here's a weird ending to all this. Oregon beats Utah 35-6. And then Pat Narduzzi suffers his worst lot as Pitt head coach with a 58-7 loss over Notre Dame. And then I guess I see why you want to talk about USC this time because That just really does not look good on USC. A 50-49 win over California. Lamar, I'm gonna just let you have it. What are your thoughts on USC? Because back-to-back weeks like that, just I don't know. Is USC too hyped, or are they not actually what people thought that they are?
I don't think they're too hyped. Lost to a good Utah team, but it's just the defense. Everybody knew their defense was bad. I mean, come on, man. You gave up 49 points to Cal. I mean, I USC was I think a 13-point favorite. I took them. I said Cal. I mean, on USC, I know USC defense is bad, but Cal really ain't that good, and they was going up and down the field on them. Actually, Cal should have won that game, man. I thought they was gonna win. At one point, they was up 43-29, and then they gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. But Lincoln Riley, man, everybody gets caught up in Lincoln Riley. He's a good coach, great offensive mind, but he never seemed like he never spent the time to go find the right defensive coach.
That
USC had if UFC had a leak if UFC have a lick they had a lick of defense, they might be undefeated and in the top four, but they don't. And you keep getting games like this, and the schedule is not getting easier for USC. Um, they got I just had the scoreboard up. They got I think was it Washington this week? Yeah, USC got Washington.
yeah.
They got Washington, then at Oregon and UCLA.
Well, UCLA comes to USC, but then
Yeah.
they're at Oregon, and then Washington does come this weekend. So yeah, I totally feel that on many different ways.
Now this is where it gets interesting. Let's say USC beat number 5 Washington, beat number 6 Oregon, and beat UCLA. Where they stacking the rankings then, even with 2 losses?
That's true. That's
That'd
true.
be interesting. So let's just I'm just being hypothetical. They beat Washington Saturday, and Oregon beat whoever they beat, and they move up. Then the USC beat go to Oregon and beat Oregon, then come home beat UCLA, then win like if they in the Pac-12 championship game or something. If they I don't know if they can still qualify or not 2 losses, but if they do, yeah, that'd be interesting, man. I don't think they will, but you know what I'm saying. It'd be interesting to think about if that did happen.
Hey, anything can happen
Yeah,
in college football. We've seen that week
yeah,
after week after week because like I mean, that also brings like a an interesting point, say with the Big Ten, because you can hypothetically speak this. Say Penn State beats Michigan. Okay, hypothetically,
mm,
Michigan beats Ohio State. It would
yeah,
come down to like the fifth, like the rule would be like the fifth tiebreaker as in common opponents from the opposing division side. And if that were to happen, Penn State could actually still end up in the Big Ten championship based off of like winning percentage of the opposing side of the West division. Because right
yeah.
now, like the teams that they got in common, Penn State's got like the upper hand in that perspective. But I mean, anything could happen. I wouldn't rule it out. USC could come out and win. And, I mean, that gives a great talking point for everyone.
Especially if some of those top teams drop some games.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, you can never, that's just like, Ohio State winning at Wisconsin last week. And even though they won 24-10, Wisconsin's given them trouble in the past. So it's like, to me, anything can happen. And, now that I see it, man, Colorado losing to UCLA, I mean, that's honestly some crazy, crazy stuff happening in the past 2 weeks. I mean, I could say this, okay? The Pac-12 is really surprising us, but I think the Pac-12 is trying to go out on a high note and just say, for what's happened all of these years, like we're here as a conference and we're doing darn good. And we want people to see that. And hey, I mean, it's
Yeah.
resemblance. You got all these
Hmm.
top 25 ranked teams now, even with the college football playoff rankings coming out. And it really just it shows a lot of resemblance that the Pac-12 is indeed, there to play and there to stay. Now, I do want to touch a little bit. If you don't have anything more to add about those previous 2 weeks, I do want to start touching on this week because Ohio State is at Rutgers, and then you also have Notre Dame and Clemson. You have well, I'm not going to really touch on that one, but you also have two interesting matchups, actually three, and they all take place around the 3:30 time frame. You have Florida State at Pittsburgh, which I already know it can be a shocker. I think this is a trap game for Florida State in many ways because Pitt's already proven, hey, they've knocked off Louisville at home. I can honestly see Pitt coming out and upsetting Florida State. I mean, you never know what team is going to show up any given Saturday. And then you have Penn State at Maryland, and then you have Oklahoma in Oklahoma State. And so outside of that, you have Washington at USC, you have Purdue at Michigan, LSU at Bama, and a few other games. But here's my question is based off of what you see this week and with the college football playoff official rankings coming out, not a lot of people pay attention to the AP poll now that the college football playoff rankings are out. Where do you see some of these teams that might be ranked too high or too low based off of where they're at in the college football playoff rankings and why?
Um, I thought Ohio State was too high. They're not my number one team, but for the most part, the rankings are
They're nearly identical to the
they're
AP,
identical.
except
Yeah.
maybe like a spot or two down or up. But if I'm gonna be honest, I just don't agree with Ohio State being number one. And here's the thing, okay, I understand the road game at Notre Dame weighs major, like it weighs a ton, but it. I just don't see the game against Penn State meaning that much considering it's at home. Because how many times have we seen in the past where the college football playoff committee they place a huge emphasis on the road games and not the home games?
Yeah, but Penn State uh, was a top team, or top 10 team, so that weighs a lot right there, whether the game is at home or not. And also they gave them a 15 on the schedule strength or whatever it was too. I saw when I was watching the rankings, and Michigan and Georgia was at 100 and something.
Yeah,
But that that's what I said, man. You go to these rankings, that strength of schedule and who you beat at what time they beat, it all matters. That's why Ohio State is up there. I don't think they should be, but I know you just probably lit a fire under Georgia seeing those rankings. So now they might get Georgia. If Georgia get the rolling, good night.
I think you might lit a fire under a lot of programs because they
Yeah,
look at some of these teams and they say, "Man, this team's ranked here," and then, "Man, this
yeah.
team's ranked here." It just, I sometimes think it just adds fuel to the fire. I mean, that's why I don't really pay attention to the AP poll because I'm just like these rankings mean nothing. Like week 8, week 9, they might mean a little significance because okay,
Yeah,
we've
me
played.
personally, I like the AP poll better than the rankings. What the rankings looking like?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That is true.
but it don't really matter. But
Oh, I mean that's total. I mean, I'm not a real fan of rankings because I tell people we've seen it in the past and we'll see it again. The teams will come and they will play, and the better team will win, regardless of who it is and how they do play. And
better
yeah,
team, a better team on that day will win. There's
exactly.
been some years that I don't feel the best team won. It just happened to have a good game plan that day, and
That's true.
but I get it. Like I said, anytime you're in a one game situation, like
Yeah.
Like who did you say Pittsburgh beat?
They beat Louisville.
Yeah, if they played Louisville again, that probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't win. But
That's true.
as I said, it's one game situation. All you gotta do is be the better team that day.
I mean, it's crazy. Ohio State's 19-point favorites against Rutgers, which does not surprise me. Notre Dame's -3 against Clemson. And then some of these other lines are just insane. I really want to see. So Penn State is 8.5 against Maryland, and I could see that. I think Maryland's going to come with a little chip on their shoulders, considering I was watching their game against Northwestern at Northwestern, and like Maryland literally almost lost because I think they were too focused on the Penn State game. It's just you can
Hmm.
kind of tell whenever the teams come out, they might be paying a little bit more attention to the opponent they have the following week versus the opponent that they have currently, and then it sometimes comes back to bite them. But overall, I mean, we can already say that Ohio State would more than likely win that game against Rutgers. So I'm not going to even touch on that, but I really want to touch on the Notre Dame Clemson game. Notre Dame -3. Do you take Notre Dame or do you take Clemson?
Oh man, I don't know, man. I mean, Clemson ain't having a good year, but they still got some talent and still well coached. Just fast. I don't know, man.
That's true.
I probably would lean towards Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is they wishy washy themselves.
I would. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this is a game that Clemson needs. I think that it's just the fact that they got a Notre Dame team coming up, riding on a high horse because they beat Pitt pretty bad, but then they also came off a bye the previous week. I think that this is a game that Dabo and Clemson need just based off of how their season's going. I say Clemson has an upset here. I think that they beat Notre Dame at home. I mean, I've said it before. Those lines that are like -3 really get to me because it's just like, why is this line this close? I say Clemson wins that game. I just something just tells me that an upset is on the horizon. I'm not going to get into Nebraska and Michigan State because that's just a thing. I would say Penn State does beat Maryland, even though that they've had a lot of close games in the past. And Talia, he's the experienced seasoned veteran, plus a few other guys that they have. Um, some guys that are not coming to my name, but I know Prather or Prath. I think it's Prather, one of their I think he's the wide receiver. Um, Maryland's got some talent. They do know
Yeah,
how
Maryland got. I
to.
was wrote an article today for I forgot the site name, but yeah, they got two Tugalovolo spreads around to a lot of receivers. Prather, I think it's Jones, another one. They got like four receivers with 25 more catches. Plus the running back got 24 catches, so they do a good job spreading the ball around. So that means everybody got to be on the game in the Penn State secondary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great challenge going into the Michigan game because Michigan got multiple receivers that you know McCarthy would like to throw to, and so on and so forth. So we should make it a note that I believe that Michigan is on a bye. Um, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I think that game's going to be low scoring, but
Michigan had a bye already.
they I'm losing track of all these bye weeks. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they had a bye going into the Michigan State game, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But anyway, my head's all over the place. But anyway, Florida State at Pitt. Florida State's a 21.5 point favorite. I think this is a trap game, but I think Florida State comes out on top. But don't underestimate Pitt because I get it was Louisville, but Louisville came in on their high horse. And
Yeah, well, Florida State can't allow a 2-16 to beat them this late in the season. Right in the thick of a college football playoff berth. They gotta come focused and ready to play and get up on them early and put them away. You can't be messing around this time of year with teams that's 2-6.
absolutely. Absolutely.
You gotta go in there and handle your business and all the
Especially
and it's
whenever there's a
on
lot of emphasis being the ACC champs.
and it's on the coaches to get them prepared to think like that too.
Exactly. Exactly. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma is a 6-point favorite. Wow. I really don't even know. I must say this is the game that I'm not gonna pick the winner just because though the games between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State usually go pretty very thin to where you never know what team's gonna come out on top.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. Is there any other game this week that I really want to get into? Uh Probably not.
hmm Yeah, that's pretty it. We got some games playing right now.
Yeah,
Texas Tech and TCU, Duke and Wake Forest.
absolutely. But with that, now we're going to get into the most talked about segment that we're probably going to talk about tonight. And that's this unfortunate Michigan scandal that has gone on for like the past 3 years, according to multiple reports. Now, it's kind of crazy because whenever you talk to people within the Michigan football program, Jim Harbaugh, of course, says, yeah, I know nothing about this. Meanwhile, there's records that indicate that for the past 3 years, a Michigan football staffer who apparently makes like 50 or 55K a year, give or take a little few in taxes, has purchased tickets to opposing Big Ten programs games in the future for like the past 3 years and such, and has still to this season has done it. And the thing that's crazy is these allegations indicate that quote unquote they were purchased within the 50-yard line. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make something clear to the viewers out there, and that's that sign stealing is not illegal. But what is illegal is what Michigan is quote unquote accused of doing. And they probably do have evidence of it on tape, is sending staffers to future games and recording those signs. That in of itself is illegal against the rules. And that's what Michigan's accused of doing. And Lamar, I really want your thoughts on this because I got a whole speech that I'm gonna say, but I really want your thoughts on this to see what you have to say.
Yeah, it's illegal. What they gonna do about it? Suspend Harbaugh or whatever? It don't. It's illegal, but it's this Harbaugh last year at Michigan anyway, so it don't really matter what they do to him. It's gonna do. It's gonna, like me and my cousin was talking this other day. He better ready to go to the NFL anyway. That's why he doing what he doing act like this. You know he want to end up back in the NFL. Reports came out today that he had his keeping track of the Chicago Bears job. Uh, Raiders job gonna be open, and I think the Raiders made a big mistake a couple of years ago when they didn't hire him when they had the chance, and he wanted the job. They didn't say he didn't want the job, but I know deep down he wanted that job and was waiting on it. But Mark Davis went to go with the Patriot way, and now they right back to where they started. But that's why these ads want Harbaugh suspended because they already know what's gonna happen. If nothing happened this year, they wait till next year. It's gonna be just gonna hurt the kids in the school at school, and Harbaugh gonna be going to the NFL. So that's why they trying to get him suspended this year. But like I said, you're gonna do like Pete Carroll did to USC. Oh, y'all in trouble? Oh, sorry, I'm out of here. I'm going to coach the Seahawks. The the school, the football program can deal with this. I'm out. What's exactly what Jim Harbaugh gonna do? So sucks, but we'll see what happens.
Here's what I don't get. Whenever you look at this entire saga, you realize how you see they blow out certain teams. And I want to put the emphasis on blow out because a lot of these programs that they've defeated in the past couple years have been by wide margins of victories. And, like I don't get this because when you get to a school like TCU and that game's so close last year, but then you get to other schools and other games and they're so wide open, it makes you think, how did they beat those teams so convincingly, but they couldn't beat TCU so convincingly? And then it's also the fact of the matter is, there was a conference call with the Big Ten coaches. I believe it was this week, like yesterday or whenever it was, or it was last week. And Harbaugh was on to discuss Big Ten business with the fellow coaches, but then there was a time period where he went off and then coaches were weighing in. Here's the thing. If this is as serious as they say it is and Michigan's actually caught doing it, I honestly think that Michigan should be handed a big punishment, as in they should have to vacate all those wins. And, Michigan should not be in contention for any bowl games. And maybe they should actually have, their college football playoff berth, because it's like you're basically saying that, you basically cheated to get all that versus actually and I'm not discerning Michigan's talent, but whenever you got the talent Michigan does have, but then you're also caught doing this potentially, I just think that in a lot of ways, Michigan should just pay for this. In a lot of ways, they should pay for it this year if it's all true, and should not even have a bowl game. They should honestly vacate all these wins because, it's just in. My whole point is it's not that I hate Michigan, because I really don't, and hate's a strong word. It's just, if you got caught cheating and you did this, that's the fair price to pay for it. Is in yeah, you might have had a national title team this year, but because you're actually getting caught doing this, and they have been reportedly doing this year as well, you don't really deserve to be playing football for that, because that's your punishment. And it's hey, if Harbaugh goes off, to the NFL, it makes sense to punish him though. And it makes sense to punish Michigan for it, because it's just because, and I mean this both Big Ten and NCAA, if it is true that they did do this and that they continue to do it this year, it's about setting a tone and setting an example as the NCAA is in that actually means something. That's compromising the integrity of the game. And that's something you can't do. Everyone says, oh yeah, teams steal our signs all the time. Yeah, but not every team is sending staffers and paying for games specifically at the 50-yard line to be very broad on this, that's occurring. I got an issue with that, because it's just okay, so you're stealing team signs, and there's got to be a correlation. How are they beating this team so bad? There's got to be a reason you're beating the team so bad.
I don't think it got nothing to do. It helps, but I don't think it got nothing to do with the signs. These teams watch so much film on each other; they know what they running before, and both teams know what the other teams are running. It helps, but man, it's you line up in a certain formation, the team know what's coming. I don't think them blowing out the teams they blowing out had anything to do with signs. It helps to know what play is coming, but you still got to stop it.
You do. You
Yeah.
do. And I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's just stealing signs and just the fact
They
that
should have stole some. If that's the case, they should have stole more signs from when TCU whooped them.
exactly.
So, like I said, I'm pretty sure they're stealing the signs. Then they still got whooped. So it don't really. That's like whatever. Like Dion said, oh, people steal signs and send people playbooks all the time. They just got caught doing it. And that's why it is. I
Yeah, but
mean,
I mean, there's also got to be accountability because, like, you got caught doing it. Like,
I wonder how much they're gonna do. It's Michigan. It's one of their big money programs. They ain't gonna do too much to
see,
them.
here's the thing, though.
It's gonna be a
That
snap on the
shouldn't
wrist.
matter. What should
It
matter
shouldn't
is
matter, but
setting
that's like,
accountability.
well, you got big money program. You up here, you're gonna get a smack on the wrist, just like Tom Brady and them did when they got the Deflate Gate and all that stuff. They're not gonna punish their premier programs like they would punish a Troy or a Boston College. It's not gonna happen like that.
Eh, I mean, only time will tell, but probably
And
nothing.
why you think that the Michigan been in the news for like the last 3 years? And why you think nothing happened? Because of what I just said.
I mean, that's true. That's fair.
And if you got all these people trying to, and all these PADs know what they're doing, they're trying to force them to do something to Michigan because they know ain't nothing gonna happen if they don't push it.
Exactly. But it's better to try to push something versus not get
Yeah,
anything at all.
and like I said, and it's just gonna hurt the school because Harbaugh gonna be gone. The guy that put this all in play gonna be in the NFL making tons of money, while the kids in the school at Michigan gonna be suffered. That had nothing to do with.
I mean, yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, and see that's where it's a lack of accountability on the NCAA and the Big Ten because it's just like, oh, well, the coach is going to leave. Well, let's put it this way: why should they offer him a job then? I mean, sign stealing is sign stealing, no matter what.
It
If
don't matter if you can coach and you can coach, you coach and you can coach and you can coach and you prove to be a good coach. No matter what you do, sort of killing somebody or quitting at a serious time, you're gonna be coaching somewhere. Same with players. If you if you're a great player, you just leeway from some stuff. Just the way of life.
yeah, that's
It
true. I
sucks,
mean,
but that's me. Just gotta be real about the situations. It's what
we'll
should
see what
happen.
happens if anything happens. I
If
mean,
what should happen and what's going to happen. It's two different things.
that's true. That is true. That is true. I mean, you do make valid points. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but it's just fans just get upset whenever it's lack of accountability to hold the program accountable because then it's just like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, nobody want to take accountability for nothing nowadays.
exactly. Well, do you have anything more to add? Because I know we are getting close to running out of time.
No,
So,
I'm good.
well, that's going to do it for this edition of the EDF College Football Podcast. For LaMarr Fields, I'm Tom Johnston. We'll see you guys on the next one.